When I got the invitation to my ex-wife's wedding, I almost laughed. It had been 3 years since our divorce, and the idea of attending her big day felt like walking into a storm voluntarily. But she insisted. "We're friends now, right?" she'd said over the phone, her tone too cheerful to be genuine. Against my better judgment, I went, partly to prove to myself that I was over her, partly because I didn't want to look bitter. The venue was elegant, filled with soft jazz and laughter. I recognized a few of our old mutual friends. They greeted me with those awkward smiles people give when they're unsure whose side they should be on. Then I saw her, my ex-wife, Vanessa, glowing in her white gown, looking like the person I used to dream of forever with. Her new husband, a corporate executive named Tyler, stood beside her, the picture of polished charm. As the ceremony ended and the reception began, I tried to stay in the background, sipping my drink and making small talk. For a while, it was fine. But then came the speeches. Her maid of honor went first, followed by Tyler's best man, both sentimental and humorous in their own way. Then, to my surprise, Vanessa took the microphone. "I wasn't planning to speak," she began, smiling mischievously, "but there's something I'd like to say." Everyone turned to listen. "Marriage," she said, pausing for effect, "is about finding the person who doesn't make you want to pull your hair out after 5 years. I think I finally got it right this time." The crowd laughed. I forced a polite smile. But then she looked directly at me. "And to my ex-husband, James," she said, "thank you for teaching me what I don't want in a marriage. If you ever need someone to babysit your sad little bachelor life, Tyler and I are just a call away." Laughter erupted across the hall. Some people looked uncomfortable, others just joined in. I felt the blood drain from my face. My first instinct was to stand up and leave, but something inside me told me not to give her that satisfaction. I just sat there, smiling faintly, my hands gripping the tablecloth. When the laughter died down, I slowly stood up. The room fell silent, eyes turning toward me. Vanessa's confident grin faltered. "That was funny," I said calmly, voice steady despite the storm inside. "Really funny. You always did have a sharp tongue." A few people chuckled nervously. "But since we're sharing," I continued, "I'd like to make a little toast myself." I reached for a champagne glass from a nearby waiter. "You know, marriage teaches you a lot about people. It teaches you what love really means, and sometimes, what it doesn't. When Vanessa and I were together, I thought love was about fixing someone. About being patient while they figured out who they were. But now I know, love isn't about waiting for someone to change. It's about being with someone who never asks you to become less." The silence was absolute now. Vanessa's expression hardened. "And I truly am happy for you," I added, raising my glass toward her and Tyler. "Because maybe now, you found someone who doesn't mind being treated like a project. Cheers." I took a sip, set the glass down, and sat back down as whispers rippled through the crowd. A few guests even clapped quietly. Vanessa's face was pale, her smile frozen. Tyler leaned toward her, clearly uncomfortable. The rest of the night was a blur. People avoided eye contact, conversations hushed whenever I walked by. I left early, not because I was embarrassed, but because I didn't need to be there anymore. On my way out, Vanessa's maid of honor caught up to me near the door. "That was something," she said, shaking her head. "You handled it better than anyone else could have." I just nodded. I'm done being her punchline. She smiled faintly. "Well, you definitely made your point." That night, when I got home, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat on the balcony, staring out at the city lights. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel bitter or angry. I felt free. Vanessa had spent years trying to make me feel small, through our fights, our breakup, and now her wedding speech. But standing there, refusing to let her define me with her words, had given me back something I didn't realize I'd lost: my dignity. A week later, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Vanessa. "I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve it." I stared at the screen for a long time before replying. "You're right. I didn't. But I hope you're happy." And for once, I meant it. Because I'd finally stopped caring about her approval, and started living for myself.